everyone, and welcome to my little corner. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the best books of 2021. So, in the last year, I set myself a goal through Goodreads to read 15 books. You know, I like to keep myself in a number that I know I can achieve. And I'm so happy I actually read 18 books last year, which feels pretty good. So at first, I was kind of deciding if this video should have been me ranking all the books that I read last year, but then I realized nobody wants to hear about bad books, right? So I will actually have a complete list in the description of this video of all the books I read in 2021 and their corresponding 1 to 5 stars. But this video is about the 5 stars, the real MVPs. So the first book I'm gonna start with is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I really love this book. It makes you question life, really. It just gets you into this philosophical spiral. So between life and death, there is a library. And in that library, every book there is a different version of your life. So every decision you made, every choice you made in your life, there's always options. And those options are available in that library. So Nora, she finds herself in the Midnight Library and she's just questioning that she wanted her life to be different. Is trying to find a version of her life where she is happy, right? So she goes and she tries to undo all of her regrets, everything that she wished she would have done differently to find that happy life. And I really don't want to give any spoilers to any of the books here. So everything I'm gonna say, it's like super vague, just a little bit intriguing for you to read it. But there is a quote from this book that I really love, and I want to read it to you. Every second of every day, we are entering a new universe. And we spend so much time wishing our lives were different, comparing ourselves to other people and to other versions of ourselves, when really most lives contain degrees of good and degrees of bad. But there is no life where you can be in a state of sheer happiness forever. And imagining there is just breeds more unhappiness in the life you're in. I love that quote. There's so many good quotes in this book, by the way. So many takeaways, really, in life lessons. I actually gifted this book to a friend of mine, and just talking about the premise of the book took us into like a whole philosophical conversation about this. So yeah, that is all I'm gonna say about this book. I love it, very imaginative, 5 stars. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Okay, so this book, I really like it. It's actually going to be a trilogy. The second book is also out and I did read it, but the second book, I actually give it 4 stars because I feel like, you know, the story kind of decreases in quality for me. But the first book, amazing. So I kept saying that this book gives me Knives Out feelings, you know, like someone dies, or I guess it's not a murder mystery, but someone dies, like some billionaire or millionaire guy dies, and he leaves all of his fortune to a random girl instead of his family. So this girl, out of nowhere, suddenly she inherits all of this money and she doesn't know who this man is. And now the family is also angry because why didn't he leave us with the money, and who is this girl, right? So there's a whole mystery of who she is. Why did this guy leave his fortune to her? So there's the whole mystery. Also, the person who died, he loves puzzles and riddles, and there's 4 grandsons, the Hawthorne grandsons. So he died and he left them all of these clues and riddles along the way. So they're trying to solve the question of why her. And I don't know, there's so much adventure, puzzles, riddles, and a little bit of danger because, you know, the family is angry and out to get her. Okay, now it's time for me to introduce you to the book that changed my life this year. I am obsessed. You know, all this time I've been reading all of these books, but I feel like, you know, most of them are not even 5-star books for me, right? And I feel like I haven't really been reading the right books for me. You know what I mean? So, you know, Instagram, I've got on watching all of these Instagram posts, Instagram reels, and I kept seeing this book being recommended over and over again. And I finally succumbed, okay? And I read it. And this book is A Court of Thorns and Roses. You know, this is my jam, okay? This is the types of books that I should have been reading all along. And I feel like it just opened like the door for me, right? Because now that I found this, now there's all these books that I'm pretty sure I'm going to start reading, and they're all going to be 5 stars, and I'm just going to be obsessed with all these fandoms and these worlds. So I'm going to try to give you a little bit of summary overview and what I think about the book without giving you any spoilers, which is really hard, by the way. I really don't want to spoil anything. So I'm gonna start with the first book. I don't think I'll be able to talk about the other books because as soon as you get into the sequels, it's just spoilers, right? Because you need previous information to know what's happening. So the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses, is where it all started. Gave me major Beauty and the Beast vibes. I don't know if it was meant to be a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Like, it's not really a retelling. It's more like it has aspects of that story that remind you of it. Okay, I don't think it's trying to be that. Okay, so you have Farah, who she lives in the mortal world, and then there's the fairy world, right, across the wall. But in the human world, they're told all these stories that the fairies, they kill humans and they're bad, all these stories, right? So where the book starts is Farah is in the woods and she kills a wolf because she's responsible to feed her family. Later, this guy shows up in her house, Tamlin. He's Fae. He comes from across from the other side of the wall from the fairy world. He shows up in their house and he says that the wolf that she killed is actually one of them. It's actually a fairy, and now she has to pay for it. And as punishment, he has to take her to the fairy world as punishment. Okay, but the thing is, once she gets there and she's living in Tamlin's house, she starts to realize that that's not really a punishment. Like, she's not really being punished. She's just there and everything's nice and she's being served all this great food because everything is better in the fairy world. And Tamlin is like, I guess you would say he's the beast, but in all instances, the fairy people, including Tamlin, are described as beautiful and gorgeous, right? The thing is, there is a curse and he has a mask stuck on his face. This whole world where she is taken, the fairy world, is called Printheon, and it's so gorgeous. Like, I really loved being, like, when you're reading this book, you are there, you know? This world is amazing. I would love to visit. And in this place is separated by courts. So this is the Thorns and Roses where she is taken. Where Tamlin is the court of spring. There's summer, autumn, winter, and then there's day and night. It's amazing. So in all of this, there's a romance brewing, there's a villain, there's a curse that needs to be broken. And yeah, by the time you finish the book, like towards the end of the book, like things really start to turn around. Like, Farah needs to go through these trials, right? And it's so action-packed. Oh my god, it's like page turner, like you cannot stop reading. Things really start happening. And I think it's actually by towards the end of the book when people start to show their true colors, right? Because throughout the book, you have some feelings towards these people, and then at the end I feel like the characters' personalities and their true nature starts to shift. And then the second book, which I'm not going to talk too much about, but it's actually my favorite book in the whole series. The second one is my favorite because this is when everything changes. You know, if you read the first one and you think you loved it, the second one, everything is like even better. Just the characters, the fantasy, all the twists and turns. Oh my god, so many. There's so many characters in here, and the author just makes you care about all of them. You know, it's not just like, they're not just second characters or supporting characters. Like, you actually like all of them, and they're like a whole big family. And oh my god, and you know, all of the smut that is in this book, which is a lot, especially as you get into the second book and Wings. The next books I am going to talk about is another series that I am so in love with. I'm so happy I read this. It is the Caraval series. These are all 5 stars. The second one, legendary, and the third one, finale. They are all amazing, but I am only going to talk about the first one, Caraval, because spoilers. Okay, so the world of Caraval is so hard to describe what it is, but I'm going to try. So you have these 2 sisters, Scarlet and Donatella, or Tella for short. And these 2 sisters, they live, you know, with their father, but the father is abusive. You know, everything they do is very restrictive by the father. Scarlet is supposed to marry this guy arranged by the father. Anyway, but they dream of one day participating in Caraval. So Caraval, it's this kind of carnival event that happens where it's also a game, right? So it's set into a carnival setting, right? But it's a game. So basically, if you want to participate in the game, you have to follow these clues to get to the final prize. There's a prize at the end. So they receive an invitation to go to Caraval. So when they get there, Tella is kidnapped by the mastermind behind Caraval, who is Legend. Nobody knows who he is, what his real name is. It's just that his name is Legend. He's the mastermind. He creates the Caraval games. Tella gets kidnapped, and now she is the whole goal of Caraval. The first person who finds her wins Caraval and gets the prize. So now Scarlet has to participate in the game. She has to find a clue. She has to find her sister. So when you're in this world of Caraval, the lines between fantasy and reality get blurred. So you don't know what's real and what's not. And the characters, they're there. Like Scarlet is playing the game. So much happens and she doesn't know what's real anymore. And then the second book, you get even more magic. You get introduced to more characters. Now there's this deck of destiny. There's fates. There's like so much at stake. Once again, more Caraval games. It's amazing. I highly recommend this series. So both of these series, Court of Thorns and Roses, or ACOTAR for short, and the Caraval series, they're not just my favorite books of the year, but they have become my favorite books of all time. So they are just after Harry Potter. Like, that's how much I love them. And the last book that I want to talk about, the final of my favorites of the year, is Once Upon a Broken Heart, also by Stephanie Garber, the author of Caraval. So this book, I don't know if you would say a spin-off, or it's based after, like after you read the Caraval series, right, and you get introduced to the fates and the deck of destiny. One of the fates is the Prince of Hearts. And the Prince of Hearts, his power, like all the fates have their own power. So the Prince of Hearts kind of like controls emotions, like his kiss is deadly. So this book is focused on, there's a new character called Evangeline Fox, and there's the Prince of Hearts. So I don't know if you have to read Caraval to enjoy this book or not. I would recommend you do, so that you have more information on the Prince of Hearts. And they do, there are some mentions of like Scarlet and Tella, you know, so I guess you don't have to, but I would really recommend that you do read the Caraval series before you read this one. So you have Evangeline. She believes in true love, happy endings, and she is in love with this guy, and the guy is suddenly marrying her sister. She goes to the Prince of Hearts and she tries to make a deal with him so that she can stop the wedding. But the thing is, you can't really trust the Prince of Hearts. You know, he is mischievous, he cannot be trusted, he is so manipulative, but also charming at the same time. So they make the bargain, and the Prince of Hearts asks her in return for 3 kisses that he will tell her when and how those kisses are gonna happen at any time. So in this really fun kind of fairy tale almost, you get a new kingdom. You know, you already saw like the world of Caraval. Now you get this new kingdom, and there's legends, there's prophecies, there's curses, there's even vampires that show up at some point kind of out of nowhere. And I really liked Evangeline, you know, her character. Like, she always sees the best in people, like even like no matter how much they show her otherwise, she always tries to see the best in people, and maybe she is just way too trusting. So if you have read Caraval, I am very sure that you are going to love this one as well. So these are all of my favorite books of 2021. It has been a ride. Do let me know if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them in the comments. And let me know, what was your favorite book of 2021? So this is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and make sure to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.